Well, welcome everyone to the TheEngiNerdLife podcast. This is a show about the future of construction by removing all the buzzwords. We want to have honest conversations. We want to be human, practical, and talk about what's actually working and what might not be working. And so in each episode, we're going to sit down with someone who has a unique superpower that they're bringing to construction and using to make this industry better. And today, for the first episode, I could not be more excited to have Matt Graves of Construction Yeti with us. If you don't know Matt, his superpower is to use humor to connect and disarm the industry around difficult conversations. And it's really funny because Matt and I actually met through social media, through his humor, a few years before we got to meet in person. And I'll admit, I was having one of those fanboy experiences the first time that I got to sit down with you and have lunch. It was a great time.
What's up, AJ? How you doing, man? I'll be honest, when we met in person, like, I knew you were tall, but I'm 6'2", and I was like, oh shit, he's tall. Oh, no, it's always cool when you get to meet people in real life that you've kind of been internet friends with for a while. Oh, that was a good time.
It is, and it, like you said, you always have a guess on. That's one of my favorite things to guess. Is this person tall, short? Because the camera doesn't really give you a whole lot.
Yeah.
But you're exactly right that you were taller than I expected. if that helps, and we had a good time. Galveston, right? Mexican
Yep,
food in Galveston.
yep, right there on the seawall.
That's right. So, all right. Well, we'll go ahead and dive right in. So, real quick, Matt, for those of you who don't know you, like, how did you get into construction to begin with? Was it what you always wanted to do, or was it, some people say the fallback career? How'd that turn out?
Um, I guess in high school, I worked for my dad. He did directional drilling and boring and stuff for fiber optics. And I was, 16 years old and work all summer, basically running a shovel behind a backhoe because I wasn't skilled enough to operate the backhoe. So I was potholing for a backhoe driver. My dad said, hey, you can either basically do this your whole life or you can go to college, get an education. And I mean, nothing against, operating a shovel, but it's not what I wanted to do for my whole life. So I went to Texas A&M and um, decided I thought I wanted to be a custom home builder. And so I picked civil engineering because I was 18 and had no idea what I was doing in the world. And so somehow that made sense in my head. I got halfway through civil engineering school and realized, like, screw this. I do not want to be a civil engineer. And so I tailored like the end of my degree to construction project management and graduated in 2010, right? At the time when nobody was hiring. And so I got out and got a job as a, you know, assistant project manager, I guess I was called, working for a federal subcontractor, doing a bunch of federal work. So I jumped right into the deep end with no experience and had no idea what I was doing.
And so in 2010, federal contractor. Yeah, nobody was really hiring, but man, were they building at that point, especially federal work. What
Especially,
uh what was one of the coolest things you got to build early on?
I didn't actually get to build it, but you're right. Like we were doing, the federal government was spending money, especially for security stuff. And we were doing vehicle barriers, crash rated, bollards, the pop-up vehicle barriers, and doing a bunch of, military bases, 3-letter agency facilities and all that sort of stuff. Got to work on a really cool project in DC. It was what was it? The headquarters for the Coast Guard and Department of Homeland Security. It was the St. Elizabeth's Hospital that they were retrofitting to be that. And then I was actually, I think we talked about this. We might have crossed paths or met on the StratCom facility there in
Yeah,
Omaha,
yeah.
where we were a subcontractor. And I flew in and out of Omaha and one day came in for a subcontractor coordination meeting. We weren't gonna, we were always one of the last trades to come in, and you guys were still pushing dirt. So we were still 2 years out. And I had to come in and for a meeting to basically talk about submittals. And then I worked on submittals for a while, but I think in y'all's giant trailer park y'all had, I think we probably crossed paths.
Yeah, that was the StratCom facility was one of the last jobs I worked on before I made the transition into Kiewit's technology group.
Yep.
And yeah, you're right. there's a good chance we crossed paths. I was the drawing babysitter because that was before you could use electronic drawings for government facilities, right? And so I had to sit with the drawings so that our subs could come in and put a bid together without having to buy a set on their own. Those were long days, but
I mean, us being remote like that, we always had to have a secure drawing room essentially for all those
mhm,
secure projects because, and subject to audit at any moment because again, like they were all unclassified but highly sensitive documents. So it was a
for
that was a fun
sure.
time.
Yeah. If we mailed them to you, we had to track where they went. We had to track receipt. Yeah, paper drawings, folks. It was a nightmare.
You're bringing back a lot of
So,
old memories.
so as you kind of came up through your career in construction, right? You've 2010, that's 15 years ago. You've come a long way. Was there a moment in your career where you went, man, things are really messed up in construction? Or maybe not just messed up, maybe it's just stuck. Like, was there one of those aha moments where you're like, we need to get out of our own way?
you know, I'd say yes about the industry in general, but also had a kind of aha moment like in business in general, right? Because when you're growing up, you always think about businesses or these companies being this perfect entity and everything works smoothly and everything's perfect and it's this like magical thing and then you go to college, you get out, you get in the real world and you realize like, oh no, all these companies they're all screwed up. They're all figuring things out as they go, and that's kind of a microcosm each company for the industry as a whole, like yeah, the industry's got a lot of um standard practices, the way we do things. And it's, don't, if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of stuff. But generally speaking, like we're all trying to make it better. We're all trying to, every day make a little improvement because it's got a lot of improvement it can do.
Yeah, I asked that question a little while back. At what point does best practice just become an excuse for we've always done it that way? Like,
It's a
that's a
fine,
fine line.
it's a very fine line. I mean, you can, because obviously just because you've always done it that way doesn't mean it's the best way. But at the same time, I've had this conversation with people too. Like, I'm a big proponent of innovation and tech and AI and all these things, right? But at some point, you don't need AI to do basic stuff, right? Like sometimes we're wanting these complicated tools to do more than they should. Like I'm a proponent of always like, what's the lowest level of tech that I need to do this job, right? Like maybe paper drawings is what we need for this, or maybe it isn't. Everyone I clown on Excel and everything else, but maybe just an Excel sheet's what we need. You don't need some sort of elaborate platform with LLMs and all the other fancy buzzwords going out today. But, it's just sometimes the way we have done it is the best way to keep doing it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point because, like, when we moved into our house, going back to your custom home builder, when we moved into our house, I didn't need a BIM model. But boy, was I glad that the owner left an old set of drawings from when they built it because I could pull that piece of paper out and look around and kind of one of my biggest peeves was I didn't know what switch did what, but I had an electrical plan and I could see where they were routed and that was helpful. You're right, but I didn't need a BIM model for that.
No, sometimes it's just technology can be overkill for the job, right? Just a sketch on a piece of paper tells you what you need to know for that.
Exactly. Exactly. So, as you were kind of coming along and figuring this stuff out and figuring out kind of how every company's messed up, was there was there something that you started to realize that, I'm actually pretty good at this and it could help? Um, because like one of the ideas I have in my head is your list that's kind of been shared around the world at this point. But
Needs up.
also, there's other things that you're really good at. So, like, is there something that you pinpointed that, hey, I could use this skill and help people out with it?
I mean, that was kind of the point of Construction Yeti, like when it very first started, was I started with a real small company doing federal contracting work. Like, I had a civil engineering degree. I didn't have a construction science. I had no internships because no one was hiring interns in 2008, 2009 when I should have had an internship. And so I got out, and I remember uh, one of the first things I was asked to do was like, "Hey, can you write this RFI?" Means. Can you put together this submittal? I'm like, I don't even know what that means. And they're like, okay, we'll go slip sheet these drawings into this plan set on old paper, right? Like, okay, that was like manual work I could go do. And just being a small company, I kind of had to figure things out on my own to some degree. Like, I didn't have a great mentor. I didn't have a great coach. Like, yeah, there was a couple guys there that were older than me that I kind of reported to, but I kind of got thrown into the deep end and just had to go figure things out. And I'm kind of a tinkerer, and I like to figure things out. And, back in those days, Google was pretty good, but YouTube wasn't YouTube yet, right? You couldn't get a college education on YouTube like you can almost do
Right.
today. Um, and so I just had to figure things out. So I was working for two different subcontractors, and again, just kind of had to figure those things out. I left the subcontractor world, went to the owner's rep world, and kind of got thrown onto a project and had to kind of figure some stuff out. And I realized, like, there's not a lot of really great content on the internet, like from actual people in construction for construction. And I had this realization kind of 2018, 2019, and I had an idea. And so in January 2020, I launched constructionyeti.com, the idea was a blog. And it was going to be like, hey, I'm not just some, marketing person writing a blog for SEO purposes to get some sort of keyword and drive content over to my contractor's website. It's like, no, I'm actually, in theory, know what I'm talking about because I'm doing this all day, every day.
Right.
And so let's, talk about some of this stuff. And that was kind of the start of Construction Yeti in 2020. It was just a kind of a static blog that had no social presence or anything.
So when did it morph into like what it's become today? Because I'm laughing daily, whether it be on Instagram or LinkedIn, at some of the stuff that you post. I mean, the most recent one, and I'm dating myself with this comment, but the one with Goldblum's character from Jurassic Park walking up to the drawing that needs coordinated. Like, these are incredible. When did Construction Yeti kind of morph into that? And how did you stumble across that skill?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about superpowers. I guess, people see me as like the construction meme guy. It's kind of what I've became. But yeah, I mean, so I started the blog in January 2020, and we all know what happened in like March of 2020. The whole world shut down with COVID, and so I kind of lost interest with the blog. Not only that, I was working on a community college at the time who left for spring break, and we had a bunch of, it was an active community college, and we were doing a bunch of renovations. So they left for spring break and they didn't come back. And so we were, at that day, we didn't know if it was 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. And so we went into hyper mode, like, hey, all the students are gone. We got to get things done. And so we just got real busy. And so I set the whole project to the side, and then I picked it back up a year later. 2 years later? I don't know. The last 6 years have been a
Somewhere in
blur,
there.
man. So I picked it
Yeah.
back up, but I want to do it more as a community base, not just like a blog, right? And so I started Substack. Substack was kind of in its beginning stages. It's a lot bigger today, but I picked it up as a Substack. And so I wanted to, create a community around these topics and around this and have a conversation with people. Well, so whenever you do that, you've got to sell it, right? And I also wanted this Substack to not be just like boring, dry white paper content because enough of that out there. And so I always wanted to have a little humor mixed in, a little bit of fun. And at the end, I always had like one meme. I wanted one meme at the end of everyone because I love memes and I think everybody does. So I just kind
Yeah.
of have some fun with it. So when you have to go sell this thing, it started turning to LinkedIn and Instagram and that sort of stuff. And I found success on LinkedIn, but I guess you call it thought leadership, kind of talking like smart content, right? And like, posting fun, like just insights and that sort of thing. And then I try to put that onto Instagram, and LinkedIn content does not work on Instagram. And so I made one or two memes and they like popped off. I think like one of the first ones I made got like 1.5 million views like in a matter of
Oh,
days. Like, oh wow. Okay. I think I unlocked something here. And then so the snowball started going downhill
off
fast.
you go. Well, and it's interesting you say that because that's kind of the whole point of what I've been doing with this show here is like I didn't want the blog to just keep being me spewing white paper type stuff at the industry. I wanted it to be more collaborative and to highlight um more unique skills that people have that are transferable. So that it's a great segue because that's we're trying to do the same thing you did a few years ago, and it's one of the reasons that I still have fanboy moments just talking to you. But so now that you've kind of become known as the main guy, right? Like humor's good in some instances, in other instances maybe you're not taken as seriously. Are there are there people who misunderstand what you're doing or just dismiss you as he's just joking around all the time?
Probably, honestly. It's it's kind of, when you do anything like that, there's probably people that form opinions. I mean, heck, I think that's kinda how we met. You alluded to it from the beginning, and I remember the post I put out. I said something like, "Dear construction tech, like, stop using buzzwords and talk in plain English." I said, "Sincerely, a dumb construction guy." And it popped off, and that's honestly like, I think you DM'd me and were like, "Hey, man, I've seen the content you put out. You're not a dumb construction guy." And I was like, "Ah, dude, it's a joke." But I mean, it worked. It got everyone's attention. It got people talking
It
around the
did.
topic, right? And it kinda was I mean, it was a post, but it was a meme and of a post, right? And so, yeah, I think people definitely probably misunderstand me. Has it hurted my credibility? I don't think so because I try to use it, not just not using it to complain about the industry where there's a lot of people out there, a lot of meme pages that just complain, but I try to use it to, poke fun at a common issue we all have. Because it doesn't matter if I'm in Texas, you're in Nebraska, you could be in California or New York, like every project site's dealing with the same stuff. So if I can poke fun at the issue and then people stop, they're like, "Oh, this guy gets it. He understands like it's an inside joke, right?" Like I can show a video that gets 2 million views to my wife and she's like, "I don't this is dumb. I don't get it." But it's like you got to be there. It's like the inside joke. And so kinda stop. We can all have a little bit of a laugh, kinda let our guard down, and then in the caption of the post, try to have, like, a real conversation. Maybe it's a mentorship moment, maybe it's just, like, a pat on the back, maybe it's a word of encouragement, but it's not all jokes. The jokes are more just to kind of have some fun and gets people's attention, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, it catches your attention and then we have a real conversation. So, do people underestimate the skill of humor when it comes to leadership at times?
I think so. I think our industry gets it to some degree. I think the higher up you go, in the C-suite, people probably lose that sense of humor to some degree, but I mean if you're talking about field leadership, you're on every job site, like, everyone's joking, right? Everyone's kind of it's just kind of some locker room humor, and it's fun, and it's it's I think it's part of the coping of what we do as well. I mean, it's early mornings, late nights, long hours, hard work. And so if you don't have a sense of humor about it, and if you don't have some sort of sense of humor, it's like say a superintendent, like a field leader, like you're just you're not going to relate, I think, with the other people in the field.
100%. You mentioned you'll poke at Excel from time to time, which, is every engineer's best friend. Are there places where construction will fight back against you more often than maybe others when you poke at that bear?
Um, yeah, there's times, especially if I poke at the field a little hard, and not the let me say that. It's funny because like somebody's always riled up in my Instagram comments and, like, you know, and I try to do it, like, I say, like, "Oh, I don't make fun of anybody, I make fun of everybody." Like, I'm an owner's rep now, and I just as many memes making fun of owners reps, right? Because like,
Right. Yep.
no one's perfect. Um, I I think to your point a minute ago, if, like, people take it the wrong way, then yeah, like, there are people who they'll push back and if you just kinda push too hard on one thing, but I try to even out my me making. I don't harass anybody too much, except for elevator contractors. Like, I'll harass them till the end of the day.
Well, it's funny, right? Like they always say, if you don't have haters, you're not really making a difference, right? But it's so then you reference the C-suite too, right? And maybe they lose their sense of humor from time to time. Is there is there a place where you see leaders go, "Yeah, we need that change. Yeah, we want to implement that," or "Yeah, that's exactly what we want to do," until it actually comes time to go do it?
Yeah, I think so. Um, Especially like on social media. Like I think I like really working with smaller companies like startups and stuff like that because they're typically right. You're usually working with the founder and like the brand is his name and like they're more likely to um push the boundaries a little bit, right? And be a little more edgy and more fun and like yeah, memes like it gets people's attention. They have fun. It's more fun. I think the bigger an enterprise gets, right? There's more legal worries. There's a board of directors. There's stockholders to some degree, right? And so you're kind of forced to become corporatized, if that's a word, right? And kind of
Yeah.
be more
Yep.
gray and less edgy. I mean, but there's some big corporations out there that are killing it. You know, like you think about Wendy's and what they do on like Twitter and stuff, right? They're pretty unhinged. And I mean, and what they're doing on Twitter, like they sell hamburgers. And so like just being unhinged on social media and selling hamburgers, like those don't necessarily go together, right? Um, but I think we all take it all way too seriously. Like, you know, your two-man company who's doing, you know, $1 million worth of work. Like, you're not that serious. Like, let's have some fun with this, right?
Right. Yep. So why then do you think these honest conversations matter right now? Like construction, if we look at the broad spectrum of construction, we're going through some pretty crazy changes between labor shortages, between tech shifts, between the emergence of mental health as a topic. Like we're going through big changes. Why do you think honest conversations are important now?
I think it's to set real expectations to some degree. You know, because the labor shortages, right? I mean, I don't have to state the stats. I don't even know the stats off the top of my head, but there's hundreds of millions of baby boomers retiring every year. We need to hire what 400,000 people just to keep up with the current demand and all the, crazy numbers, right? So where do you find these people? A lot of it's it's kind of the battle for the next generation of people coming up, right? And do they go tech? Okay, tech's less secure today than it was 10 years ago, and software coding is less secure today than it was 10 years ago because of the advent of all this AI stuff. So can you pull them over to the construction, right? And show people, hey, you can build something, you can be a part of building something that's going to stand for 100 years and it's a legacy thing and it helps the community and so forth and so on. So I think like having the real conversations helps level set too. So like you're not selling this, 23-year-old kid coming out of school that it's all rainbows and sunshine when they, get in the first job and they realize like, oh no, this is there are problems and it is headaches and it is hard work and so being able to uh and kind of making fun of it through the memes I've had I say kids, I'm almost 40, so everybody feels like a kid now to me, but, these fresh graduates and they're like, "Oh, man, like, I'm glad, like, I felt kinda like I was alone." Like, "No, dude, just keep in there, like, it'll get better, like, you just gotta kinda power through," but it is, it's not all just rainbows and sunshine, it's not all just flying drones around job sites, and it's not all just, these things that we try to do to attract the next generation.
So when you say, there's a lot of sites out there where the memes are just complaints, right? They're just complaining and complaining. What's like the hidden trick? How do you how do you transition from the complaining meme to the educational or the constructive meme?
Yeah, it's always kind of a struggle, and at least to keep and I mean, I can do it in my content fairly easily, right? You can, the one you were just referenced about Jurassic Park, right? Where he looked at a big pile of dinosaur crap and it was like a plan set and it said something along the, lines of like, when every single contractor, when they find the first issue in the construction drawings, right? And he And he's going, "Ah, it's a big pile of shit," right? And so it's like the whole thing. And so, basically and then the caption I put onto that it was almost like a rallying cry of like, "Hey, no one's perfect. Like, contractors make mistakes every day, architects make mistakes every day." If an architect was held to a standard of perfection, there's not a single architect that would even work, right? They wouldn't stamp it
Right.
because it's found
Yep.
first issue, right? You're talking lawsuits, right? "Oh, you made a mistake." And so I was trying to explain, what standard of care is and that sort of thing, right? To at least try to level set like, "Hey, everyone's gonna make mistakes. Just give everybody a break, and we're gonna help roll in this together." Um, so, I mean, I can do that in my content. The trick is, like, trying to do it in a way which keeps the conversation constructive. I mean, whenever there's an Instagram or Facebook battle going on in my content in my comment section, it helps the algorithm, right? There's a lot of engagement. It helps the engagement, but, like, I just kinda sit there and eat popcorn and watch the thing. I'm like, "Geez, you guys are, like, missing the point for, like just because you're battling over something stupid here."
Right. So with that all in mind, right? How could someone who maybe wanted to take your unique skill or your superpower back to work today, tomorrow, this week, what's one thing they could maybe tweak or do so that it doesn't come off as complaining, but maybe they could find a humorous way to constructively have that conversation?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll start by saying, like, when you're finding your own superpower, like, I just kind of found that the memes and the humor was kind of something I was maybe better than average about, if you wanna say that. Um, but, like, I've seen a lot of people try to replicate what I do, and I've had people reach out and say, "Hey, how do you make these?" And I'll give them the whole playbook, like, I don't really try to I mean, I'm an open book. "Here, I do this and this and this and this," and I'll watch, and, like, they'll go make them, and, like, "Theirs not good." Like, "Okay, well, that's not your superpower," right? Like, find what works for you, like, experiment, play, like, I tried a bunch of stuff before. Again, I said I started this in 2020. We're now January 2020, we're now January of 2026. Like, so I've been playing at this for 6 years, and it's taken me 6 years of figuring stuff out. And even then, I'm still trying to figure stuff out, right? Like, I don't wanna just be the guy making memes. I'm trying to figure out okay, how do I continue to provide, like, valuable content, but keep it in a fun way? And so, I guess a piece of advice to that is just, like, find out, play with everything, experiment with everything, try everything, try to do humor, try to do serious, try to do this, try to do, if you're trying to find a way to do that. But at the end of the day, just try to keep it fun. Um, I mean, we all got into this industry, I think, a lot of people may have been somewhat forced into it, but a lot of us got into it because we found it interesting, we found it fun, we wanna go build stuff, we wanna be a part of building stuff, we wanna, you know that's what interests us. And so, as soon as it stops being fun, like, why are we doing it, you know?
So there was a lot in there. That was a really good nugget. And the one thing I could see someone saying to themselves is, okay, like I'll go experiment and I'll do this, that, and the other thing. Um, but how do I know I'm not just making noise? Like, is there something that I can be on the lookout for where I can realize, hey, that was it? Like, I just hit the nail and it wasn't just noise that's getting engagement for engagement's sake.
I mean, I think you gotta understand, like, what your goals are. I mean, to kind of if you're gonna try to find a metric to measure, like, why are you doing it? Like, I mean, if you're creating content on the internet, like, why are you creating content on the internet, right? Is it just for you trying to network with more people? You trying to maybe, set yourself up to make a career change? Are you trying to grow a meme page on Instagram? Like, why are you doing all these things? Um, I mean, one thing that I mean, and again, but it's gonna evolve, it's gonna change. Like, I started creating the internet, right, because I wanted to go sell this free newsletter I had, and honestly, I probably would've been more successful, you know, asking people to pay $5 a month because, a free newsletter, like, "Oh, that's gonna be garbage, you're gonna try to sell me on something," right? And so, like, there's a perception of, like, free is junk to some degree, so it's really having to create content and all this stuff with that in mind. And then one thing I didn't realize was, like I mean, I was trying to build a community, so I guess I was dumb, but I didn't realize like, man, I'm gonna meet a lot of really cool and interesting people from all over the world. And, you make posts, and I mean, like, you reached out, right? Because I made a post making fun of the dumb construction guy, right? Which I called myself, and you're like, "Dude, you're not dumb." And, like, now we built a friendship over the last couple of years because of one stupid post I made. Um,
Exactly.
so I think it's constantly evolving, it's constantly changing, and now it's like I kinda keep doing it because, 1, I enjoy it, it's fun, and 2, like, I continue to keep meeting really cool people and, opportunities open up that way.
It's funny because you start to figure that out as you get older. If you're newer in your career, you figure out as you get older, the stuff that you enjoy doing, you keep doing it, whether or not you need to. And
I
and
had
you
a
go ahead.
Oh, so I was gonna say, I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and they were just like, "How do you keep making posts all the time? Like, how do you keep yourself accountable to keep making the memes and keep making the posts and all that sort of stuff?" And I kinda laughed, and I was like, "It's more fun than my day job, so, like, it's I'm more attracted to doing that, to getting that done, and then I do the day job because it's my job." But,
Right.
it's
Yep.
it's the fun part, right? And then my day job, you know, feeds the ideas which become the memes, so
That's awesome. So I have to ask you before I let you go, what's your favorite meme of all time?
man, the one that it was actually in Construction Curiosities number 1. It's probably the first construction meme I ever saw. It was probably a meme before memes were memes, and, like, it's a picture of a drawing with a revision cloud over it. And it says something along I forget the exact details, but it says something along the lines of like, "Be careful when you cloud drawings the contractors may not understand." And then there's a picture of the ceiling, like a concrete deck of in a building, and it's got all these core drills out and it looks like a cloud, So it's like the revision cloud got copied into the real world, and like,
Yeah,
obviously so anyway. That's probably
get it.
my favorite, and that's kind of the OG construction meme in my eyes, so
That's awesome. Well, like I said at the beginning, it's been incredible getting to sit down with you. I've had a blast and it was a real honor. Thank you, Matt, for coming today.
yeah, man, appreciate it, JJ. I always appreciate our conversations, and we're gonna have to, find somewhere else to have Mexican food soon.
Ooh, I like the idea of that. Um, Most importantly, though, thank you for sharing your superpower today because it's hilarious. If y'all don't know Matt or haven't found him yet, go look up Construction Yeti, and watch watch some of the funniest content you'll find on the internet. Um, if this conversation resonated with you, be sure to take something away from it today and try it and see what happens. Also, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe. We got more coming. Rate it. Let us know what you think, or share it with someone else who cares about improving the future of construction. So remember, everyone, construction's cool. Go out and tell your friends.
Thanks, AJ. Talk to you later,
Thank
man.
you.